Welcome, everyone. We are joined by some of our 2021 scholarship recipients to this roundtable recording. We're going to talk a little bit about what they're doing in school and how they got started in the hobby. My name is Kelsey Walker. I am the AMA Foundation Director, and I'm joined by Kyle Jarris, our AMA Education Director.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining, Kyle. We also have Adelaide and Joseph, who were recipients of scholarships this year from AMA, and we're really excited to talk with them and learn a little bit more about them. And we might have another person joining us just as a heads up, so we'll see. How are you guys doing?
Awesome. Thank you for having us here today.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, before we started the recording, I learned that both of you just recently got out of class. So thanks for making time in your busy university schedules. I'd like our viewers to get to know you a little bit. So if you want to share your name, I already shared your name, but if you want to talk about how many years you've been an AMA member, what school you're at, what you're studying, some things like that. I'd love to hear how school's going so far. So yeah.
All right, so I guess I'll go first if that's okay. My name is Joseph Daly. I'm from Limbrook, which is in Long Island, New York. I currently attend New York Institute of Technology, and I'm majoring in life sciences with a combined concentration in the osteopathic medicine program in order to hopefully one day become a physician. I've been an AMA member for about 6 years, but I've been in the hobby for almost 10 years, and I'm looking forward to see what the future of the hobby is, and I don't plan on getting out of it anytime soon.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, I'm Adelaide Machado Olm. I fly Freeflight. I've been with the AMA for about maybe 10 years, and then before that, I was flying little catapult gliders just on my own with my dad's influence. Currently, I go to the Catholic University of America. I'm from Fairfax, Virginia, and I am pursuing a marketing degree.
Right on. So you kind of hinted at it, Adelaide, but what is your model aviation, your hobby origin story? Like, how did you get involved, and when was that, and who got you involved?
So my grandfather, Alan Olm, he just passed away recently, but he was one of my first introductions to the sport, and he would have me flying model airplanes and little small catapult gliders, and my dad sort of continued on with that during my free time on the weekends and whatnot. But I never flew competitively until about I was maybe 10 years old, and we were in Maryland, Ingleside, and there was a field there, and Dave Lacey, one of the modelers near us, registered me for the AMA, gave me a membership, and said, well, she's registered, she can fly, and she can fly model airplanes and fly her little catapults, and I ended up winning my very first contest, and it kind of kicked off from there.
Right on. So
that's really cool.
So you won that contest.
Yeah, there are very few competitors.
That's okay.
Well, it's still quite a boost in your confidence, I'm sure, to win that. Before you answer, Joseph, I just found out that we have somebody here. So I want to go ahead and bring them in, another scholarship recipient this year. I believe his name is Jacob.
Hello.
Hi, Jacob. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. My camera isn't working. I made the mistake of getting a laptop for school this year, especially in our digital era that doesn't come with a webcam, and it looks like my USB one isn't working. I'm happy to be here. Glad that you guys were able
to still make those?
I know, it's kind of crazy. I didn't even think about it when I was looking at specs. It's just like a given now, and I guess it wasn't.
Well, no worries. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
So I'll bring you up to speed. We did a little bit of introducing ourselves, what school you're at, what you're studying, if you who brought you into the hobby? What was your involvement like? And so if you want to go for it. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. My name is Jacob Shudik, and so this year I'm starting as a freshman at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm studying aerospace engineering on an astronautics track. So kind of everything about my high school career built up and encouraged me to finally pick my field, which I was indecisive about, especially going into high school, as something in aerospace and aeronautics. So it's very interesting. And I think RC flight was a massive, massive influence on that, especially the modeling side, because I have a twin brother, Josh, and he wasn't able to make it today. But what I do know is he's kind of the pilot and I'm kind of the builder. So I know that modeling for sure has been big for me. But so far in high school, one of my biggest favorite things that I was able to accomplish was starting an AMA certified club at our school. And so far that's been big for me. It's gone far, taking me places, and I'm so happy to be here.
So you made up a mass club in your school?
Yeah, so basically we started off as a club interested in what is basically called, drones, like basically like quadcopters, like the simplest versions where you got like one of these baby drones from Amazon. And we're like, I think we can do a little better than this. So we got this club of interested fellow students and we were like, all right, we want to show you guys the ropes. And I had a little bit of background up to that point, and I was finally starting to really immerse myself into the hobby of my own interest. And from there, we kind of carried the club into anywhere from advanced racing quads to model airplanes and like hand-built kits, even into model rocketry. So lots of cool stuff. And we were able to do it thanks to being AMA certified, because a lot of our teachers and different advisors were kind of leery of it at first, but you get a certification, they say, hey, this is real now. And then they can confirm it. So
that's awesome. Kudos to you for doing that work in your community, your school.
Yeah, I was happy to do it. It gave me a lot of fun opportunities, lots of memories too.
Awesome. Joseph, do you want to tell us a little bit about your origin story?
Sure. So I would say it was about 10 years ago that I got into model airplanes. My father and his dad, my papa, used to fly model airplanes, control line, RC back in the 80s and 90s. And my dad, he settled down, had me, my siblings, and control line and model airplanes kind of took a back seat to everything. So I was about 8 years old, and my papa called me up and asked me to come over and help clean the garage out, right? So we're going through the garage, throwing away different things that we don't need anymore, and we go up into the attic of the garage, and there's probably about 50 model airplanes sitting up there. So I say, Papa, what are these? Is the most, interested kid in the world at that point. So let's just say, needless to say, we didn't get any more garage cleaning done that day. He called up my dad, found an old tank of fuel, dusted the planes off, and we took them up to the schoolyard. I think we brought about 4 planes. We went home with 4 bags of parts, but that's what got me hooked. And after that, my dad has got the bug back, and he's been building and flying planes in the nets and all AMA competitions ever since.
That's a good story.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So for all of you, what has you touched on this a little bit, Jacob, but what opportunities or pathways has model aviation opened up for you in your schools, in your schoolwork, in your community?
I actually do a lot of the social media marketing work for Freeflight. Freeflight, I'm not sure about the other groups within the AMA, but Freeflight's a nonprofit. We went solely on volunteer groups and just things like that. And the demographic's a little bit older, more retired age. And so I thought that our advertising on the social media front to gain, younger followers, younger members into the sport was dying off and wasn't working that well. So I ended up taking position of the more marketing work on social media, get new members for the Freeflight Digest.
Put that on your resume.
I will.
That's
It was
great.
in the application. I remember that.
Yeah, that's great experience, for sure.
And you've
Awesome.
gotten some results with that too, right?
I have. We've gone up membership a crazy amount. I know people used to say it was impossible to get to about 1,000 members, but we've done it and then some. So now we're shooting for 2,000. So hopefully we can get more from there.
So for me, the sport and the hobby of model airplanes and all that stuff has taught me really problem solving skills. So there's more than one way to solve a problem. Your airplane's too heavy. You have to take out weight somewhere. You need more tip weight. You need more motor speed. You need less fuel. You need more fuel. All these things have told me that there's so many different ways to solve a problem. You want the airplane to do more of a round loop. There's so many different adjustments and so many changes you can make to the airplane to solve that one problem. So it's taught me that not to think in a straight line, that it's more than just a box of thinking. There's so many different solutions that you can apply to real life scenarios like chemistry, biology, calculus, anything that you use in school. You can just think, oh, this is how we solve this way. So why don't we try something a little different? Because this isn't working. And it showed me that there's many different ways to solve a single problem.
That creativity is so important when it comes to not only model aviation and all the repairs that take place and the tweaks and the tunes, but like you say, Joseph, in life itself, man, that's equipping you for your future. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that you pointed that out, because we hear that it's kind of a skill that you take away that you didn't know in the moment that was going to help you in life. But, when you kind of look back and reflect, you realize, wow, I really learned a lot from working through that problem. And now I feel like confident enough to do that when I'm, working through a problem in my personal life or my school life or whatever. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, definitely. Going through school now, I realized I learned a lot more than just how to fly an airplane on the model airplane field.
How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I was just going to chip in. I think the biggest thing that I learned, especially through my high school club, was persistence. Persistence is key in so many different places. And so when we started our club, we were trying to think of actually financially approachable ways to start the club, because we had no available funds given to us from the start. We kind of even just emerged as a group of people interested. There was no initial bank. There wasn't an initial starting fund. We didn't even start with fundraisers. We just wanted to investigate how we can actually start this, because as much of a club as we were with our documents and our people, we needed some sort of physical assets, whether that be planes or drones or controllers, whatever, to actually establish us as physically appearing at least. And one of the biggest ways we found to get into the club was we found this YouTube group, Flight Test. And I don't know if you guys are aware of them, but they're an Ohio-based YouTube group near us who started off as a youth group and also shared a similar interest in RC hobby planes. But a lot of the kids in the group weren't able to afford some of the bigger gas model engine aircraft. And this was about the era that electrical airplanes were emerging with LiPo batteries and such. And they started taking like Dollar Tree foam board sheets and making these different kit cutouts of these basic planes, whether they were Piper Cubs or basic little flyers, and started making these approachable aircraft for these kids to start. And we're looking at this like, hey, we can replicate that. And so we started doing some of similar work to them with foam board and making these airplanes. And it's kind of interesting to attack that way, because they're not super high quality airframes. I mean, one dip in the ground and you can imagine what happens when you have a 2-pound LiPo battery on a 60-inch wingspan foam board beast. But the nice thing about them is you can slap another piece of foam board on them and fly like the next day. So making things readily available to be able to be persistent in your pursuit, that's pretty important. I think that's pretty big.
I just found out that thank you for sharing that, Jacob. I just found out that we have another scholarship recipient who is going to join us. His name is Ryan. So, hi, Ryan. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So I'll catch you up a little bit. We did some introductions. where you're studying, what you're studying, kind of your origin story into the hobby, like who got you involved, when did you get involved? If you want to jump in and share that with us.
Yeah, so my name's Ryan Wheelis. I'm from Flagstaff, Arizona. I currently attend the Berklee College of Music in Boston. And growing up, I did giant scale racing. So those airplanes were real fast and real loud.
Are you still here?
Not really.
And another question we asked was, what kind of opportunities or pathways has model aviation opened up for you? We've heard things like it's given kind of soft skills that like problem solving and learning how to persevere, and even like actual experience of managing social media for a group or for a club. And so I'd be interested to hear what kinds of experiences or skills you've been able to develop as part of this hobby.
Yeah. So one thing that was always my favorite part about flying airplanes was, in the middle of a real hot and heavy race where you're in what I would call an improvisatory environment. Even from your takeoff to your landing, you're making it up as you go along, right? And for me personally, where that has helped out is in my playing. So I play clarinet and saxophone, and I do a lot of jam stuff, some jazz influenced music, and that, as some of you probably know, is all improvised. So being in that sort of environment really has helped me develop as a musician, and then more technically speaking, how these airplanes work. That's helped me understand, how to set up a stage, how to run sound for various musical events. Yeah.
Wow. You guys are so brilliant, all of you. Everything that you're saying is so amazing, and I'm so glad to get to know you and talk to you. That's really cool, Ryan.
Yeah, that whole idea of like taking something that I wouldn't normally associate with like learning fundamentals through aviation and model aviation in particular, with something that's as free form and it's really observational, right? Like you're having to listen for those cues and observe what those patterns are. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you kind of picked up or you're boned up on that skill set with model aviation, and now it's affecting your creativity. That's really cool, man.
Cool. So I have some questions I'm looking at, and I want to know what excites you all about model aviation, or just about the future of aviation in general.
So what I think is really exciting about the sport is how it's, like Ryan was saying, how you're kind of just making it up as you go, how you're improvising, how it's something different every single time. No two flights are ever going to be the same. You're going to have different wind, different airplane speed, different everything for each flight. And it's just really exciting that you can see the pilot adapt and make those changes to make it up as they go, while still following the maneuvers or following the speed and the racetrack and attempting to win the competition, all by using the skills they've learned as a pilot and putting them together based on the circumstances given to put it all together and improvise one perfect flight.
So coming from the non-control line or not the RC stuff, there's so much emphasis in Freeflight on your launch, and I think my biggest takeaways from Freeflight is just how much preparation needs to be put into something before I am able to execute it. There's very little I can do while it's in the air, unlike these other sports, and I think I'm learning that with my work writing things for Freeflight and doing the social media for it, is that all my preparation is just building up to a bigger thing, and it makes me realize that in the future I'm really hoping that I'll be able to see Freeflight grow as a sport in the way it used to be.
Free flight's so cool. Like the observation that you have to do, like the preparatory, like reading the wind, reading the thermals, reading the, all these conditions. What's the temperature? What's the humidity? Everything goes into it, right? And then you have to take what you're gathering and put it into whatever adjustments you're going to make on that airframe, and then just send it into the wild blue yonder and see what happens. Like that's so cool. And I've always said free flight is where most of us start, right? Whether it's a paper airplane, a Gwillows model, or building a rubber band powered aircraft, or whatever the case is. It's really the tried and true methodology for learning what control surfaces do and how to manipulate those. And and to what you said, Joseph, and you alluded to, Ryan, like you're always learning something new, right? And that inspiration that leads to curiosity, that leads to learning, that leads to more inspiration. Like it's a circle that's going to carry you guys through life. And no matter what you're doing, there's more to learn, right? You're never going to be the one be all end all expert. And that's really an awesome and rewarding place to come into it, knowing like that you've always got something to learn. Like life is never boring. That's really cool.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Kyle, that every day that I actually pick up an airplane and work on it, I do literally learn something new. Even if I'm simply cutting out a different foam board model and like slicing through these paper and foam mixes, I might even learn how to cut a corner a different way. Even if it's something as small as that, it's never the same thing every time, kind of alluding to what Joseph said. And I think one of the coolest things that I'm excited to see, at least in the world of the hobby, is that I can actually see it growing. Now, there's a lot of people who have literally come up to me and told me, hey, you need to carry the torch for this sport. We've got a lot of older gentlemen and older folks who may not be able to do this any longer. And if you aren't here to live up the hobby for them, nobody's going to carry this forward. And loving this hobby so much, that is a torch that I'm proud to carry.
It's interesting to hear you use that analogy, or for someone to have approached you and said that you're carrying that torch. The AMA logo actually has a torch in it, and the foundation's logo is similar to AMA's logo with that torch. And we actually have a donor program called the Torchbearer program. And, we petition and appeal to those donors. Those are donors who give every month. And they are, in a similar way, carrying that torch, and they're passing that torch with their financial support to members like you who are, physically carrying that torch with your aircraft, and by participating in the sport and sharing that with classmates. So I'm like totally geeking out to hear you use that analogy.
Glad I could provide it. Yeah, it's not even that they're just providing for the future of the hobby, but they're providing the future of the hobbyists too, because all of us here know personally how much they've been able to provide, and I couldn't be more thankful. So
that's awesome. Well,
so I have another. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
Sorry, I was going to say, Jacob, I know you mentioned that you kind of helped to start up a model aviation student club in your school, which is awesome. I love to hear that. But I was curious, maybe just raise your hands. How many of you guys were part of an AMA club growing up? Like, was that a part of the thing that influenced you and taught you? Like, did you have mentorship through that? So walk me through that a little bit. Like, was it, how was it a valuable experience for you? What are some of the lessons that you learned, either intergenerationally or just on your own or within the club? Like, how did that sort itself out?
Being around a group of people that's largely in a generation older than yours. It was nice. It really teaches you to take things slow and enjoy every moment. Just small things like that. That was what I took away from it, at least.
By being a member of a club growing up, not only did I learn how to fly and how airplanes worked, I also learned about life. I was able to talk to all these older members and learn their life stories. Some of them I'm from New York, so some of them were city police officers, city firefighters, engineers, designers. They did all this cool stuff, and they were able to share their stories with me and inspire me and put me on the right track to what I want to do with my life.
So kind of that mentor relationship, people that you can kind of confide in and trust and look up to.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for, being a member of a club and then seeing young people come in, like, most people like, that's awesome. Like, let me find a way to help, or if you see them crash their planes, 9 times out of 10, somebody says, hey, I got something for you. I'll bring it back next time. We'll see you at the field next time. Don't worry. We'll fix that. We'll come alongside of each other. And I mean, you'll see that even, between adult members, each of us helping each other out, but especially when it comes to younger modelers. And I'm glad to hear that that's been the experience overall from you all. Real quick too, Jacob, you started that MASS club. Don't forget, if your university doesn't have one, and this goes for all of you, we've got university model aviation student clubs as well. So that affords you guys the opportunity to, beyond the age of 19, have AMA insurance coverage, membership, all that stuff for $15 a year still, instead of the normal adult rate of, I think it's $75 now. So it can be a great opportunity to get some friends involved at the university level as well, guys. So look into it.
Yeah, and we have resources available online. Is that right, Kyle? To figure out how to do that?
Exactly. Yeah, those forms are online, or you can call me or anybody on our staff, and we can help answer any questions you guys have.
Cool. So I want to know what your favorite aircraft is right now. Something that you're just like, you want to get, or you are really enjoying flying it, or you want to build?
I can answer that one. Easy.
Okay.
So I just got a kit over the summer, and I wasn't able to take it down to college with me because being from Ohio and coming to school down in Daytona Beach, Florida, it's a slight drive, and you almost have to be careful with what you pack. But
Sure.
I have a kit waiting for me back at home. It's an 810 Warthog, so I am very excited to build and fly that because that is one of my favorite all-time aircrafts.
Right on.
Everybody loves the A10, and if you don't, you're wrong.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
I've been having a nice time flying the Carf Models Ultra Flash. That's been cool.
Nice.
What do you like specifically about it?
I got my turbine waiver probably about a year ago now.
Okay.
So I'm exercising that privilege. Mostly for the noises that they make.
So you say, no wonder you still can't hear anything because you got turbines now too. Exactly. That's awesome. Well, and before Joseph and Adelaide jump in, was everybody able to bring an aircraft to school with them, or did it get left off the packing list?
I'm a commuter student, so my dad and I are still able to go out, fly every once in a while. I think that's something great that other modelers my age don't have.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing for me. I commute to school, so I can just walk out to the garage or what's now become an airplane hangar and grab an airplane from there.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I went from Arizona to Boston, so I did not have room for any airplanes.
Hmm.
We'll have to get you some
sure.
UMXs or something.
Mm-hmm.
Fly it in the practice room there.
Yeah.
How long did that take you, Ryan?
I think the flight was like 5 hours or so. Not too bad.
Okay.
Went on a red eye, so I was pretty exhausted the day after.
Yeah. So you just like shipped your stuff over there? Yeah.
I took a duffel bag and a suitcase, and that was it.
Oh, okay. Super light packer. Nice.
Despite having to go far, my drive was 16 hours. I did have my own car, so I was able to bring a couple of RC electronics, and I was very happy to be able to bring down an FPV set with a tiny whoop. So even though we live basically next door to an airport and I can't fly much within 5 miles, I can race the little drone around the dorm. So that much is fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, indoors you're good to go, right? As long as you're not driving
Exactly.
too many people too crazy.
Yeah, I gotta do it when the roommates are at their classes.
There you go. Now, have you gotten any of your roommates or friends that you guys have met at school interested in model aviation yet?
So that's funny you asked that. I think I actually met people who sparked, again, my interest in it. This week at my school is like a clubs/activities week, and I was perusing the quad where they have all these tables set up in tents. And sure enough, I find a table with a Timber X sitting on it and a couple of Spectrum controllers, and I'm like, huh, this looks like a table that I could and should approach here. And so sure enough, they have a casual flight club and they do RC, and they even have racing drones down here that the school owns that students are able to use. So I think I do have an outlet to be able to go and fly some down here.
That's awesome. These are my people.
Yes. Exactly. I walked up and I'm like, hey, I am very happy to meet you, and I don't even know your names yet.
Sounds like potential candidates for the UMass club that you're going to start there, Jacob.
That's what I was thinking as soon as you guys were mentioning it.
Nice. Well, I want to give you an opportunity to share anything else, and also ask me and Kyle any questions that you might have. We've been to college before.
So that's when.
So any questions about anything really, or any last things you want to say before we wrap this up?
What's one of the most rewarding parts about working for the AMA?
This.
Yeah.
Meeting the members, reaching out to people, being able to assist them with whatever any issues they might have, or offer any suggestions or offer support to them, because and sorry, I just jumped right in, but this is near and dear to my heart. Being able to, especially in the education department, I get to hear weekly from people, hey, I'm going to do this community event. Hey, our club is going to have kids for a camp. Hey, I'm going to this school. What resources do you have? Or from teachers and educators. Hey, I've got a homeschool group and I want to do this thing. Or I'm trying to get my third graders into model aviation, and how do I do so? And to be able to offer the support of the AMA, have established programs in place that we can share, that I feel like we can help them to achieve their goals. Because ultimately, the AMA isn't the headquarters staff. It's not me in this office and the stuff I have back here that I need to fly more often. It's really the members that are in communities across the United States, even across the globe, but to see them getting into model aviation and sharing that with others, from kids all the way up to retirees, it's a hobby, it's a passion, it's a sport, it's a competition outlet, and it can be a career, and whatever avenue that those individuals take at whatever stage of life they're in, that's the most rewarding thing for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I would second that. It's one thing to see all of your names on a list of, these are the 2000. Oh, hey, Jacob.
He's in. We got room in the back.
Finally just able to get it working. Figured I would want
right
to
on. Yeah.
make an appearance. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, it's one thing to see all of your names on a list. These are our 2021 scholarship recipients, but to actually meet you and talk to you and just learn how, more about you and how this hobby has impacted your life is super rewarding. And, I work in the foundation, and I get to raise money for scholarships. I get to raise money for clubs to make improvements to their sites, for our education department to make flying and model aviation accessible to those third graders that are, their teachers reaching out and needs resources. And that's pretty amazing for me to get to do that every day. Yeah, great question. Any other questions?
Can I throw out a question for these guys?
Oh yeah, totally.
So, and this isn't one that's on the list, so this is just us talking. But a lot of the things that the AMA does to try to equip and empower modelers really happens in DC. And a lot of times, I think the AMA can get misconstrued, or people think, well, they're just they're working too closely with the FAA, or they're trying to do this, that, or the other. And we also hear like, who really cares? I'm going to go fly. All right, like some of those are the narratives that we occasionally receive. But I want to hear from you guys, as some of our younger members. How do you view the AMA and the FAA as it relates to model aviation? How do you view this landscape that we're all navigating as it comes to drones, whether it have a fixed wing, a trainer, an FPV quad, a heli, whatever it is, a blimp, and how that relates to how you pursue and progress within the hobby?
So my take on that is there's a balance. Like everything in life, there's a balance between both. I think that the FAA and their guidelines are extremely important because at the end of the day, the main issue is human life, and human life needs to be kept safe. However, there does need to be room to enjoy the hobby and enjoy the sport. So it would be how there it is in designated areas, not too close to airports. Certain issues like that need to be more addressed and discussed based on, because for some people it doesn't work. For my example, my flying field is 5 miles from LaGuardia Airport. So you're not technically supposed to fly drones there. A lot of people do who aren't members of the club, but technically you're not supposed to be flying drones there. So there really has to be a balance between both, a balance between safety of people in the manned aircraft and then the fun and enjoyment of people in the unmanned model aircraft.
Yeah, that's I would agree with you, a balance for sure. We do have to keep in mind safety, and I mean that's pretty much what AMA has been built on, is safety over the years. It's 85 years of existence. Is how do we keep people safe while still allowing people to enjoy the hobby? So thanks for weighing in on that.
Yeah, trying to remove some of those barriers to make sure that the innovation and the celebration of flight and aviation in general that is born within model aviation, whether it be free flight or model rockets or the fixed wing stick 40s that we built, really matters. It's a tool to inspiration, in my opinion, at least. So anybody else? Just curious.
So free flight, we don't get as high, or a lot of the FAA regulations do not apply.
I've seen some good thermals. I don't know.
So as long as we're pretty safe from the bigger airports, we're pretty good. I know our practice field about an hour away is a smaller private field that we're able to practice in because we have consent from the owner who has it. But I know I've been going to school in DC for a significant part of my life, and I just think in DC people are so much more aware of the terrorist threats that could happen because of these drones, or even like big manned aircraft, because they're aware of the stuff that has happened and could happen. And we all get alerts about the threats that have happened in the Capitol, which is a few blocks away from me right now. And so I do think that the AMA and the FAA do need to have a strong relationship together. But for free flight now, I understand that we're as a very small group in comparison to a lot of these other bigger groups within the AMA, and I think the balance there is something that might be an issue to think
about. I think I might be able to weigh in some on that FAA question too.
Yeah, Jacob.
So my perception of the relationship between the hobbyists, the AMA, and the FAA is that while we all enjoy flying and we sometimes even take it for granted, it's not as much a right as it is a privilege, especially with the safety that is involved with flying these model aircraft while actual aircraft carrying physical people exist. So I think it's important that the FAA is there, but for my own interest, of course, I still want to fly. So for someone like the AMA to be able to step in and be able to rationalize with the FAA and work with them and empathize for all of the different hobbyists and shared interest followers here, I think it's important that the AMA is there as well as the FAA for both safety and fun.
Yeah. And I know, I mean, I'm going to speak on behalf of the government department here because they're not represented right now, but, you know, hundreds of times they're in DC every year, you know, having conversations, trying to get in front of people. And just like you said, Jacob, trying to share our story, share our history, our safety records, and also to inform them, really educate them, you know, because let's be honest, the FAA is a big organization, right? And DC is even bigger. And so the more people we can bring into an understanding of what we're doing as model aviation enthusiasts, whether it be free flight or control line or, you know, foamy airplanes at the field, like whatever it is, you know, it's based around this understanding of a history of that safety. And honestly, you know, by and large, once we can teach these people what we're all about, you know, they're an advocate for us. Like, oh, that is really cool. And yeah, I remember my dad did that, or my grandfather, or I did that as a kid. And creating those inroads is so important.
Thank you all for joining us. It was really awesome to hear from you, see your faces, hear your thoughts about the hobby, you know, hear about what the hobby has made possible for you, how you got started in it. And I'm really stoked for all of you to be in university classes this semester, and good luck to you. I think midterms are coming up, so good luck on those. And if you ever need anything from us at AMA, don't hesitate to reach out. I believe you have my email address from my correspondence with you, and Kyle's been CC'd on those, so please don't hesitate to reach out. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.